Would you want to tell us about the day that you found this? Was the skull the first?
So the first would have been the rhino because it is higher, and we try to take things down at sort of a level surface, if you will. So the rhino would have been first, and I exposed as much of that as I could, and then I started digging down the rest of this. The next thing that I found was this piece right back here. Although the only piece that I found was just this sticking up right there. That is part of a hip bone. It's a piece of bone called the ilium, which is this area right here, that little bit of your hip that sticks up. So that's one of the ilia, on the hip. Now, whether that's from a horse or not, it's not likely that's from a horse. It might be from a rhino calf, but we're still a little bit unsure on that. The next thing that I found, the next day, I found this much of the skull. And
How exciting was that?
that was extremely exciting. So it's unusual because there aren't many bones in the body that actually have holes in them. So I found this hole, and part of me was like, oh, just about anything that has a hole means a skull. But by the same token, it's one of those really big finds that you don't want to get too excited about and then find out, well, it's just something else. So actually, one of the other interns was like, hey, I think you found a skull. And the following day, as I unearthed more of it, it became very obvious that yes, it was a skull. I worked slowly. I exposed this section first after the initial stuff. And I slowly started working down the jaw and slowly started working down here. You can see these black points there. Those are the enamel from the teeth. This complicated stuff back here is part of the skull as well. And then I continued on and I didn't find any of the neck vertebrae. So I continued working down the rest of my section and I stumbled across the leg. The first part of the leg that I found was this right here, which, as I mentioned, is the wrist of the front leg, basically. Then I slowly started working the rest of this away. This is the radius and ulna up here. So these bones. This is the cannon bone, which is a modified version of the hand. So on us, it'd be these bones right here. But a lot of four-legged animals, it's fused into one bone and it's elongated to give their legs extra range of motion. We then have the toes right here. I only uncovered the toes today. You can maybe see there is a small side hoof right here. This confirms that is one of the three-toed horses. Until I found that, we were still a little bit on the fence as to what kind of animal it was. We knew it was a horse, but whether it was one of the three-toed or one of the one-toed horses, we weren't sure yet. So we found that little bit of side hoof. I had already found this bit right here, which I believe is the humerus. So this bone here. But as you can see, I'm still working on it. The elbow goes back right where my big toe is right now. So I'm working to expose this, and I'm hoping to find the shoulder blade back here. This is sort of a weird jumble of bone. I'm not entirely sure why it's so jumbled up, but I haven't exposed enough of it yet to really be able to say for sure one way or another that it is the shoulder blade. At this point, the shoulder blade could very easily be back here, and this might be part of the neck. So just slowly working away and looking for the shoulder is my next big hunt. There are times that I'm going to be scraping the ash like this, very, very lightly, as you can see. This is when there's quite a bit of thick ash that I kind of want to go through and see where the bone might be. I know there's got to be bone around here somewhere, but how deep it is up for debate. I could brush it, and I will brush it whenever I start feeling anything, but this helps me take off any bigger pieces of ash that are still a little bit damp and don't want to brush away very easily.
How long has it taken you to uncover this much of this animal?
About 2.5 weeks, something like that. 2.5, maybe 3. Although the 3 might be including the rhino stuff there. We'll just have to see. It's possible that this is a full skeleton. I don't want to say yes or no on that yet because there's still a lot to look for, especially in this intern spot. The elbow obviously goes back in here, but so would the rest of the body if it is articulated. So if he starts pulling up ribs or vertebrae from the backbone, then we'll know that it is probably a whole body. But even once we find it all, we probably won't end up exposing it all just because it is unlikely that the body ends before we get to this jaw here.
Mm-hmm.
So that jaw may end up sitting on top of the rest of the body. Just one of those things that we just have to be very careful with and hope to find it on our way down.